Here, coming in loud and clear to get started.
Well, good morning all. With the confirmation of quorum, I will call this meeting to order. So moving on to our second agenda item. John, if you can help us with our agenda review.
All right, our action item is the minutes from our last meeting. Today is a very important meeting. This is our last project steering committee before we achieve our goal of 58 counties on CalSAWS. So it's pretty exciting to be at this point in time. Many of us had this month circled on our calendars for a long time. So we do want to spend a little bit of time saying, are we ready for that? And part of that is going through some of the things that we've seen in Wave 5, a couple of the issues that we've had, how we've been working through those with our Wave 5 counties. Our readiness for Wave 6 is going to be there. Standard slides that you've seen before. I think our Wave 6 counties have been doing an awesome job, and I think we're pretty much ready to go. Our green light meeting to be able to confirm that we are ready to go is going to be happening next week. We did our pre-green light this week. We're going to do our release and policy updates, and of course cover the continuous coverage unwinding. That is a big focus of the project, and we know of the counties and DHCS, so we're happy that Teresa is going to join us for that. Teresa Hasbrock is going to join us from DHCS for that. And then we're going to talk about Benefits Cal. Lots of activities happening with that Benefits Cal, and it's pretty impressive the usage across the state of Benefits Cal. More and more people are finding their way there. We're going to do a quick update on Department of Child Support Services and some things that we've worked through to make sure that their access is more uniform as we go forward. Dawn's going to give you an update on the return mail, the great sort of proof of concept that we've done with San Diego County and the interest and where we're headed with that and the interest from the counties. Lots of things happened over the last month or so as we've worked with our contact center team. They've done more and more analysis on the bots, where things are at, put in some process improvements, put some things on hold so that we can look at the customer experience a little bit closer. So we're going to spend some time on contact center. Tom will give an update on procurement, and then hopefully everybody has the January conference on their calendar and have gone through and done some registration on that because we're going to be joining Albert and Rick and their team down in San Diego for really a celebration of looking into maintenance and enhancements and what the future of CalSAWS is. We're going to hit our QA, IV&V, our state partner update, and then we always look forward to hearing from our county. So pretty standard agenda. I think we have some room in the agenda, Albert, if there needs to be some conversations. But that is the agenda for today.
Thank you, John. So at this moment, the public can speak on any item that is not on the agenda. Public comments are limited to no more than 3 minutes per speaker, except that a speaker that has a translator shall be allowed up to 6 minutes. So at this time, are there any public comments on items not on the agenda? As a reminder, the public can speak on any item on the agenda during the agenda topic and waiting for the chair to recognize. So again, at this moment, are there any public speakers? Seeing none and hearing none, John, I think we can go on to our next item.
Very good. I just want to acknowledge Sandra's attendance, and Olga is trying to join us, having a little bit of internet problems, but she should be joining us shortly. Our minutes are from the September 21st meeting. On the back page, we have our action items. Our first one was for Rachel Fry. I believe this has been closed out, that they have reached out to Ruben to discuss some of those concerns. Rachel, are you on? Any other items on this one? Lynn, are you on? Do you have any updates on this? I believe that you guys did attempt to do some reach out with Ruben.
correct, John. We did try and reach, and we'd had email exchanges, but there's no other follow-up at this point.
All right, so with that follow-up, I'm gonna close this action item. Item 2, Karen, follow up with CDSS on trailer bill language.
Yeah, so we did that follow-up. I'm trying to find my work right here, but we did do that follow-up with CDSS. Let me pull it up here.
While you're pulling that up, I'll go to the next one. And item 3 on return mail, Dawn will cover that during her presentation. And then continuity of operations is going to be something for contact center is going to be handled during the November meeting. So Karen.
My apologies, I don't have that, but I do have a spot in the agenda, and if I could add it in there, I'd be happy to address it.
All right, I appreciate that, Karen. We'll just address that during your policy update topic. And with that, Albert, the minutes are open for PSC consideration or to move approval.
Thank you, John. Any comments from the PSC, or is there a motion to approve?
This is when I move that we approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Is there a second?
This is Sandra. I second.
John with
Good,
the second?
Very good. Clarissa, you approve?
I do.
Very good. Anna, do you approve?
I do.
Thank you. Eduardo?
I approve.
Great. Rachel?
I approve.
Thank you. Cecilia?
I approve.
Thank you. Cindy?
I approve. Thank you.
Thank you. Maria, I know you weren't in attendance, but do you approve for the record?
Yes, I can approve for the record.
Thank you so much. Albert, do you approve?
Yes, I approve.
So much. LaShonda, do you approve?
Approve for the record.
Thank you so much. And Olga,
Yes, I approve.
thank you so much. Appreciate that. And Albert, that moves us on to our first informational item. And we want to talk about Wave 5 and a production update and just some of the key defects that we've been working through on Wave 5 and how we've run those items to ground. So I think I'm going to turn it over to Sean. Very good.
Man, I think my eyesight's gotten worse since the last meeting. I can't read that at all.
I thought you had it memorized.
I was working on it last night. I guess my bifocals are right here now. I think I need to move to the head of the classroom. Sorry about that.
Back to you, Arnold.
Where's the hat? So let's talk through some of the bigger things we saw through Wave 5, and I think a lot of what we're going to talk about are some firsts. These are largely things that happened for the first time with Wave 5. Being at the top, Alameda was our first county that participates in a process to validate foster care placements. This is something that in Cowan was called VRU, or the Voice Response Unit. This is a process where the county can verify that the child's still in that placement. They send that back to the system. The system then is allowed to proceed forward with issuing the benefits. A couple of things we saw through this process is the first we saw when we converted all of the placements as not needing this. So that is obviously not the accurate way to come into this with conversion. So we had to work through that with the county and our fiscal team, and we made that change on the 6th, where we set the indicators appropriately, saying, hey, these are the placements which should require verification and come in through that interface. The other thing we saw was there is a process to manually verify it by a worker instead of going through that interface process. And what we saw was that that was requiring a CWS CMS case number. The reason that was there is it's the same page that is used for a similar process for Los Angeles County, who does have that connection point with the way we interface their data between the two systems. So we worked with the county, had that education go out. Let's put a value in there, whether it's the accurate number or just a passive value to be able to manually verify if you're in that situation. Meanwhile, we're going back through the committee to see what is the right direction to take that. We know there's integration coming with FSED and the work going in the care system. So we want to make sure we take the appropriate steps with the counties on where do we go with that field. The last on VRU is whenever you convert over, there's a couple of weeks where we have to do some manual changing of information with this VRU process. So we went through that, and then when we went to the point where we would see the automation come in and the county sending that file to us, there were some difficulties there in getting that worked out. We did have our first successful exchange on the 7th. We are still working with the county through that process to make sure that the files are coming in with the appropriate values. Kind of keeping on this foster care train, one of the other things we saw, and this is an annual process, it was the first time we've seen it, is the foster care clothing allowances. This is a once-a-year process, usually right before the school season or school time starts, and they provide a one-time payment to the counties or to the placements. In this case, what we saw when they were converted and issued out of CalWIN is that they're associated to the eligibility determination. In CalSAWS, we would expect that authorization to be some other factors, generally a payment request is what we would call it. So when we went to go run our main payroll, the system looked and said, oh, look, there's already a payment out there tied to that eligibility determination. You must have already issued main payroll, so don't double issue it. So when we started seeing the amounts were less than what was expected, we began working with the county and we were able to narrow it down to these clothing allowances. Lucky for us, on the 8th, we were able to make a quick fix where we just disassociated that relationship to the eligibility determination. That allowed the payments to go out that night. And then we worked through regenerating what we would have expected with payment requests and customer needs to allow it to function as the system would expect. The next item, this was something unique to Fresno County where we saw during their importing of images, it appeared only the first page came through. So the first day of go live, I was like, well, where's page 2? Where's page 3? So we began working with the county and the Highland vendor, and we went through a re-importing process for anything that was more than one page. Working with the county, that was resolved on the 25th, so that the importing process was made whole, and we saw all of the pages, not just the first. The next item was specific to GR for Alameda and Fresno. What we had seen is some incorrect reporting types being set both in conversion and in the rules. What that meant is our skip logic. This is a step in the system where we attempt to confirm that periodic reporting had been completed, right? So if you put on your SAR-7 hat, was there a SAR-7 in the last 6 months? What we had found is we had incorrectly set the reporting type on these cases for Alameda and Fresno. So we had to do a series of data changes to bring those up to speed for those two counties, and that allowed the benefits to be released that night. So that was corrected on the 4th for Alameda and on the 6th for Fresno. The last new trend we saw, and I'll actually say I think the time on aid one is not necessarily new. We've had this reported with other ways as well, and we're still working through it. But the first bullet, what we saw is from the COLA processing, there were some future month time limit records that were generated. And so when the system, CalSAWS brought those in, some of our summaries were saying more than what we would actually display because we don't display future months. So it'd say 100 months, yet you'd look and you only see 99. So we worked through that with the Gainwell team on the Cowan side and figured out where they were. And we did a series of data changes to remove those. And then our normal process started adding the records back as you would expect. The last item is something we're mostly resolved on. We did a massive data change, but we're seeing time limit records with missing aid codes. So this is something I think a lot of the Cowan counties have seen. It makes reconciling your time clocks a little difficult when you're not sure if it was a tick month, a non-tick month, state, federal. So we did a massive data change on the 1st to correct that. Since then, we are still receiving some feedback from the counties where it either wasn't the value I expected. We are seeing some aid code values that I don't think you would expect for the certain programs that they were issued aid under, as well as there's a handful that are still missing the aid code. So we're continuing to work through that. It's being tracked on our daily 4 o'clock calls right now. So those were the key 5 things. If you notice, none of them were really repeats from what we saw in the previous 4 waves. So that's good. We're able to knock down the issues from wave to wave. I think we want to talk about the print issue next.
I think before we do that, looking forward to wave 6, we're also looking to avoid reoccurrence of these as well.
That's a thanks. For the VRU process, we work directly with Sacramento County, who's the only other county that does that. We figured out what verifications that they would like, or not verifications, but which ones they would like to have requiring verification. We've already set those values. And we've already educated them on the second point of the CVS CMS case number. And while there'll be some initial spreadsheets, that's part of the cutover process, we're already working through with them to make sure that their automation is in place. The annual clothing allowance is a one-time thing, so that would only occur if you happen to have cut over during the wave 5 window. So lucky wave 5. And then the Fresno County issue was unique there, as was the Alameda and Fresno issues.
Thanks, Sean. With that, we moved on to the central print. Don.
Yep. Donna, you out there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Hear you loud and clear.
All right. So we did have a delayed mailing, 3 central print work orders that involved 2 counties on September 10th were erroneously canceled by an operator. So there was a processing issue that morning, which required some manual intervention. The operator failed to follow the process that they were supposed to follow, which includes a supervisor verification that you have correctly fixed the problem. So they made a mistake, canceled these 3 work orders before they were printed. So while we do reconcile that everything we got from CalSAWS we received and that we process all of that, they managed to find a moment in time where if you cancel it at that moment, it does not get caught in the daily reconciliation as we were doing daily reconciliation at the time. What that resulted in were the work orders that affected Fresno and Orange County, as you can see on the table there. And those particular items were all reprinted and mailed on October 4th. We found this in what is supposed to be the final reconciliation, which is supposed to be the one that catches anything that might have slipped through prior to that, which is the month-end reconciliation. So what we've done is, now that we've seen this gap where we can miss it in our daily reconciliation, we have also modified the daily reconciliation to do a reconciliation post when this step would have occurred, to also now catch this in the daily reconciliation. So that's the net of what happened on that particular day, how we found it, and what we have done to now catch it in the daily instead of in the month end in this particular nuanced situation. Back to you.
Thanks. Thanks, Don. And let's go to the next slide. And Arnold, you got this one?
Yes, I have this one. So from an overall system performance for September, with the addition of our wave 5 counties, we have been meeting batch SLAs and online SLAs. We did have 2 occurrences during the course of the month where there was a degradation in the system. The first occurred on Monday, September 11th from 8:45 to 12:38. And that was related to a bug that was introduced with our security patching that had occurred the previous night. What resulted was some users had errors logging in because a couple of our servers were impacted by that bug that was blocking the login. So that's why it was intermittent, because the other servers were still working. We ultimately reverted that patch and are working with the WebLogic vendor to obtain an updated patch to be able to re-implement after we further test it. The next occurrence was on the 18th, and that was basically from 10:49 to 1:26. And then it also reoccurred in the afternoon on the contact center, and that was a widespread AWS outage that had an impact across all of our services. Some users who were logged in were able to continue working, but during that period of 10:49 to 1:26, new users were unable to log into the period. So that had more of an impact to the core CalSAWS platform as well as the contact center platform. We are working with AWS and they have published an RCA on the issue. There isn't anything the project could have done to avoid the impact. So AWS is working on the actions to further harden their processes to avoid having a similar impact to the CalSAWS program services. So with that, I think we can move on to the next slide, and Luz will take us through the welcome update.
Yes, so for the welcome bot, I want to give everyone a brief background. The welcome bot is part of our contact center services. It attempts to identify callers' intent using their response to an open-ended question, and then is to place them into an appropriate queue so that a call center agent can then take up the request from the caller. We noted as part of the rollouts that there is a disconnect in the handoff between the bot and the actual IVR call flow that leads to the agent. We were incorrectly placing the callers in an incorrect queue, which effectively caused a very poor customer experience between the caller as well as the agent receiving the call. At this point, we have put the welcome bot rollout on hold, so our Wave 6 counties will not be receiving the welcome bot as part of their cutover, and have put an action plan in order to remediate the handoffs and correct and improve the customer experience. So below you see our action plan. We did complete an end-to-end review of the entire flow between the bot into each one of our county's flows to confirm that we're placing it into the right queue. We've logged defects for each one of the discrepancies that have been identified. The team has put a schedule together to get those defects into our non and production environments, as well as conducting end-to-end testing to validate those successful handoffs. We've been working with each one of the counties who currently has the bot live to ask them to let us know if they would like us to disable it. Some have opted into that option as we look to deploy these fixes, working collaboratively with the counties so they can validate the user experience as the bot is turned back on.
Thank you, Liz. I appreciate that. Albert, that was a lot of information. We thought it was important just right up front to sort of hit on some of the challenges. Overall, the system has performed pretty well, but we did have some unique challenges with Wave 5, with the bot, that we just wanted to hit right up front and see if PSC or the public have any questions. So we'll turn it back to you for that.
Thank you, John and team. Any questions of PSC members? Any questions of the public? Okay, John, I think we can go on to our next item.
Very good. So with that, we want to talk about getting to 58, our last 3 counties, getting them in, Wave 6 readiness, and our risk summary. And we have Catherine on to be able to do that, or is Duncan doing that? Hey, Catherine.
Good morning. This is Catherine. I'll be covering our Wave 6 readiness. So a couple of really important updates from the last time that we gathered, and as we are getting very close to our Wave 6 go live. As John had mentioned earlier, yesterday we did have our pre-green light, and then in preparation for the green light meeting that is scheduled for next Wednesday, the 25th. So a couple of key updates on behalf of application. We also have completed since last week. We've also completed the central print readiness. So that's one more of our readiness categories that has transitioned from on schedule to complete. Another update, late breaking as of yesterday afternoon, is that all of the counties have completed and signed off on their county IPTs. So integration at this point is also updated to be complete. Now, there are a couple of additional items that we are continuing to watch, and Arnold will go through that. They tie directly to our risk profiles, and so we'll cover that in the subsequent section. One of them, again, is around the defect resolution and making sure that we have all of the documentation as well as included in the go live packet, but also that we continue to track and to provide that visibility into the Wave 6 readiness. The other watch item that you see under conversion is the cutover window. Again, this is tied to a risk as well, and the team has already completed all of their additional testing of this, and Arnold will cover it on the subsequent slides. The other key update since the last time we met is under organizational readiness, and the process sim and configuration for the Wave 6 counties is also now complete. You will see that training readiness is still on schedule. And I do also want to give a special shout out to our Wave 6 counties. We have the completion rates of the WBTs is at an all-time high across all of the migrations. And so thank you to our Wave 6 counties for reinforcing the relevance and the importance of completing all of the WBTs and providing the space and the time for your teams to complete it. Lastly, for implementation, just a couple of key highlights. All of the post-implementation support information, staff alignment to what offices for post-go-live support, as well as all of the calendar invitations and the communications have all been distributed at this time. And then lastly, we continue to do and to watch for the county ad hoc reporting, and we'll cover that on the subsequent slides.
Thanks,
All right.
Catherine. And now we'll just go over to Leslie to give the cutover weekend calendar.
Good morning, everyone. So for Wave 6, cutover 6B being the cutover for Go Live, bringing over the active cases and cases that closed within the last 2 years. That event will start on Thursday, October 26th at 5 p.m. with my BCW going down. Then Cowan will go down at 6 p.m. And then for Friday, 10/27, CalSAWS will be going down at 8 p.m. We will then be converting all of that data, bringing the system back up before Monday morning, October 30th, before 6 a.m. For the next slide, cutover C. Cutover C is us bringing over the closed cases and shell cases, cases that closed within the last 2 to 6 years, and any of the shell cases used for data retention. That activity will be happening on Friday, November 10th. There is a couple counties that are working in CalSAWS during the day. So at 6 p.m. we will bring CalSAWS down. Then on Saturday, we'll be converting that information and bringing the system up before Monday morning, November 13th, before 6 a.m. Handing over to Arnold, let's talk about risks.
So overall risk exposure is remaining relatively flat at this point in time. What we have seen is that we have closed several green risks coming out of the last set of discussions and also out of Wave 5. So as we look at the remaining risks that we have for Wave 6 on the next slide, thank you. We'll start out with 262, and Catherine, I'll let you talk through 262.
Perfect, thank you. So for 262, we continue to meet with the counties a couple of times a week leading into Go Live to really help ensure that they have all the information and additional items that have come up to make sure that all of the preparedness from the project, as well as providing that information to the counties, continues. We do have, again, all of our TOS meetings and some of the ad hoc meetings that have come about across the board for the 3 counties. All the way through next week, just to double check and fact check everything that's coming through and preparing them with the information they need. Arnold, I'll turn it back to you for 264.
Thanks. For 264, this is in relation to the Wave 6 counties being ready with the image migration from their legacy systems. At this point, all counties are green. They are processing their deltas and they are ready for the upcoming conversion event to process the final set of deltas. So we are happy to report we are green here. On 269, our Calhoun counties may not have enough development and testing time to refactor their ad hoc reports and ancillary systems. We retain this one as yellow for focus period. At this point in time, all 3 Wave 6 counties are on track to have their day 0 at critical reports available and refactored. And then the remaining batch will be refactored during the course of the next couple of months. On 260 or on 289, I'll let you handle that one.
Perfect. So risk 289 is really around making sure that the external partners for all the Wave 6 counties have been mapped to the appropriate portal for access of information for Benefits Cal, childcare, and all of the county's external partners. This is actually ahead, I would say, from a schedule perspective. All of the Wave 6 counties have been working with their TOS teams and with the ISS team to map all of the appropriate partners. And this is trending towards retirement based on the progress that the counties in the project have made. However, we're going to continue to monitor and keep track of this through Go Live to ensure that the right access for those external partners is appropriate. Arnold, I'll turn it over to you for 258.
Thanks, Catherine. For 258, the Calhoun conversion cutover window at risk of completing past the 84-hour cutover window. This was elevated to an amber risk as a result of the issues that occurred with Wave 5. With the successful completion of another round of testing this past weekend, this risk has actually returned to a green risk and completing under 84 hours. So this is actually trended towards green and will remain green as we head into the conversion weekend. But 285, Catherine?
Perfect. So 285 is just making sure that the counties have plans in place for self-sufficiency throughout the Go Live period. A couple of updates here. And again, we continue to keep this as part of our risk profile to monitor as we get closer to Go Live. The counties have all provided and prepared their escalation processes for post Go Live. All of the information, the trip books, the virtual support links, etc., and all of the calendar invites have been distributed, and the final alignment of support staff to the counties will be provided by end of this week. Arnold, for 279.
Yep, so for 279, Calhoun counties may not be prepared to reconcile fiscal and submit state reports timely as they migrate to CalSAWS. So the counties are currently in meetings with the Wave 6 and the project team going through the reports that are available within CalSAWS. And we keep this elevated at an amber because we know that the first month is going to be a hybrid close between Calhoun and CalSAWS. And then the second month is the full close on CalSAWS only. So the counties will continue to receive support through those months, as well as there is an ongoing meeting every other Thursday where counties can come and ask specific questions around reporting. So that extended support is in process for all 58 counties as they go through this. For risk 280, the unresolved Go Live dependent defects not being resolved prior to the Go Live could impact the county's ability to process. This is one that we again keep as amber just to retain the focus. Each release we have had fewer defects that exist after the Go Live, and we expect Wave 6 to continue that trend as well. All critical defects are either resolved prior with changes to the conversion code or with what we data change requests, a DCR, which is run prior to turning the system on during that conversion weekend. And so that's where the majority of those higher impacting defects are going to be resolved. For those that will remain open after the Go Live packet has been updated with the alternative procedures to work around those until the time the team can actually apply the changes and resolve the defect in that day 1 to 10 period, or if there's any lower priority defects that are resolved after day 10. And then the final risk is on 240 around scalability, and that's the scaling of production operations, including batch to provide 58 county support without effectively taking into account the multi-county and multi-vendor CalSAWS ecosystem may impact business operations. Again, we keep this one at an amber status through the Go Live. There is a checklist that the counties complete that basically makes sure that we are integrated with the exchange of files that occurs during the nightly batch process for those that are sent by CalSAWS, as well as those sent by the county back to CalSAWS, that we are integrated with the production operations and escalation paths, the distribution lists, that the counties understand how to submit issues, enhancement requests, and be involved in overall communications from a production perspective. So all counties for Wave 6 are on track for completing that checklist. And again, we just maintain this as amber for the heightened awareness around that. So with that, Alberto, I think we can return it back to you for questions.
Albert, back to you. I think we wrapped that section up. Albert, can you hear me? Can anybody hear me on the phone, on the meeting?
John, we can hear you.
Ari can hear.
Okay. Are you there, Albert? All right. Cindy, are you on
Hey,
right
John, I
now?
can, yeah, yeah,
All
I'm
right.
here. All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Arnold, for that report out on that. And are there any questions from any of the PSC members? Okay, I'm hearing none. Any questions from the public? Okay, great. We will move on to the next agenda item, and this would be the release and policy updates and communications. And
Thanks,
so-
Cindy. Appreciate that.
All right, good morning,
Teresa.
everyone.
There we go. All right.
Good morning. So we're going to start this section out with some updates from Medi-Cal program. So Teresa is going to join me in this section. So as always, we'll cover some unwinding topics. And then this month, we also wanted to highlight some of the key policy changes that are going to be effective January 1, 2024. So Teresa will cover the policy and the guidance that has been issued, and I'll cover some of the automation changes that are in flight to support these very important policy initiatives that are coming. So let's start with the unwinding, and Teresa, if you can join me with this one.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I know the unwinding is all of our favorite topics. I just want to share out actually good news on all fronts with the unwinding. Most of these have been things that you probably have heard of, but just want to provide a little bit of clarity to the first topic. We did do some automation on the waivers that we knew would be most impactful. So first, huge thank you to both our SAWS and our CalHERS partners who really worked at a dime in order for us to be able to complete these very, very, very quickly and make them impactful. And so that is the automation of the 100% FPL waiver, the zero income waiver, and the stable income waiver. And the intent of all three of these is to allow more individuals who meet the criteria of these waivers to have the renewal completed through the ex parte process, so that no packet would go out and the renewal processing would not be required by the counties. The challenge was that with this is because we were doing it so quickly, we needed to be a little bit innovative about the way that we approached the implementation of these. So all of these waivers, both in CalHERS and in SAWS, began in October, but they are for the renewal months of December. And so, it's not actually for the renewal months of October and forward, it's for the renewal months of December and forward. Unfortunately, because we were using some out-of-the-box solutions, particularly for the first couple of months, we are not able to go back and run any of the outstanding renewals that are still pending processing through this process. And so while we'll begin this as of December, counties can still leverage these waivers when they're processing the renewals that have been received, or even potentially renewals that have not been received through a manual process until the automation is in place, or until the renewals come where the automation was in place. The second piece was MEDL 2349, and these were some waivers that were specifically asked for by the counties. So the counties were running into circumstances where they had everything they needed to complete the renewal, except they didn't actually have the renewal forms. And so they were forced to discontinue them based on California's current policy that once the renewal packet is sent, the renewal packet needs to be received. And so we did receive permission from CMS that we could do an ex parte after the packet's been generated. So at the point that the county has all the information they need to complete the renewal, they could do so without the actual physical renewal packet. The other challenge counties were running into is that individuals were reporting updated information on the renewal packet, but were not providing the actual income verification. So counties requested the ability to take the new self-attestation on the renewal as verification and not to require the need to actually request a physical paycheck or other verification type. And so CMS also approved the ability that if somebody reported the change, that could be considered a reasonable explanation. And because of that, the county could move forward with the renewal without the income verification. So some very exciting things that we hope will be helpful as the county begins to address some of the outstanding renewals from the months that have already passed. The last thing that we just wanted to update folks on, more for awareness, is of course there is a lot of questions about why are people not turning in their renewals. We know they are getting our packets, we know they're getting our multitudes of outreach, but we're still having folks that are just not actually submitting the renewal packet in. So in order to understand sort of the mindset of some of our Medi-Cal members who are being discontinued, we're actually partnering in 2 different ways to conduct surveys with our Medi-Cal members who have been procedurally discontinued to get a better understanding of what is the reason they have not returned their renewal packet. As we learn more insights about what the reasons might be, we're hopeful that this either helps us to improve our outreach efforts at a state level or at least better understand some of the reasons that folks are not turning them back in. We will, of course, share that information out with our county partners for your understanding and knowledge as well. And those are really what's hot in the unwinding right now. And so, Lisa, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Teresa. Next slide, please. So a couple of automation updates. So last month we were on the cusp of implementing a change. This is an integration point with Benefits Cal. So if a customer was using the document upload feature in Benefits Cal and picked the doc type of Medi-Cal renewal, now when that comes through Benefits Cal is submitted and received into the imaging system and into CalSource, the customer reporting record is now updated from sent to received. And so that was deployed on 9/28. And in the first 3 weeks, we have seen about 2,000, close to 2,000 doc types come through this process and successfully be marked as received into CalSource. So depending on the timing of the month, that does stop those renewals from being picked up in any of the discontinuance sweeps. And for those counties who have the task feature turned on, they will also get a task when that customer report is marked as received. So that has been implemented and is working well to date. The next one is Teresa mentioned on the stable income waiver. So at the beginning of, well, sorry, not the beginning, but the 10th of this month, we ran in CalSource a data change. Again, these are for the December non-Magi renewals. So we ran a process to pick up those cases that met the criteria for the stable income waiver. And we were able to run them through a process to advance the RE date 12 months. So in total, across the 55 production counties, there was just over 51,000 cases that we were able to pick up and advance that renewal into 2024. And as Teresa mentioned, this means that no packets go out for those households and the counties do not need to process these cases because we have auto-advanced them for you. We will be running a similar process around the 9th of November. That's the current target date. And so that will be looking at the January renewals and running this process and advancing the renewal date for any program that meets that criteria for the stable income waiver. Next slide. So I think now, Teresa, I'm going to turn this back to you. We're going to talk about some of the upcoming policy items that are right in front of us.
Yes, we have 2 really historic changes that are going to be happening January 1st, which are very exciting. And of course, the timing with the unwinding makes it a little bit challenging, but SAWS and DHCS and CWDA have been working together to make sure that these go as smoothly as they can in sort of the environment that we're in. And so the first expansion, of course, is the ages 26 through 49 adult expansion. This is where individuals, regardless of immigration status, will be eligible to full scope coverage if they meet all other eligibility requirements. Jillian Davis just did an amazing webinar yesterday to really walk through the details of that. If your county wasn't able to attend, we did record that session and we'll make sure that it's available to all of you. But just some very basic information, DHCS did create a very elaborate global outreach language toolkit that actually went live on October 17th into all threshold languages. So this is usable by counties to do some local outreach. The most important pieces is when those notices are actually going to start generating, because we know that that means that oftentimes phone calls increase at the local county level. So the first notice, which is just general information and frequently asked questions for our existing Medi-Cal members, will be sent out beginning on October 23rd. And because it is such a large mailing, will go all the way through November 3rd. Additionally, counties are responsible to provide these documents to anybody that newly applies for coverage during that October 1st through December 31st timeline. This was included in our ACWDL and is available to counties to use. Then, of course, comes the moment in which we'll be batching these individuals over. And so CalSAWS will be processing those batch transitions from restricted scope coverage into full scope coverage for the January 2024 month of eligibility. That process, of course, is going to start a bit earlier in November 21st. And that's where we're going to begin to send the MAGI determinations over, because that requires some time in order to get all of those back. EDBC is anticipated to run through November 30th in order to get everybody switched over to full scope coverage. Our non-MAGI will be a one-day batch run, and that's going to occur on November 22nd. Of course, we know that there is going to be some individuals that exception out because of where we're at, both with migration and potentially yellow banner cases, as well as also, of course, we're still in the middle of the unwinding, and there are cases that may not successfully transition over if there's going to be any sort of negative action. So DHCS is going to be prepped and ready to go to post that eligibility directly into beds to give counties that breathing room to be able to get to those cases when they actually get to the individual annual renewal time period. And January 1st, 2024 is when the adult expansion will fully be implemented. The other change that we have is on our next slide, which is our asset elimination. Of course, the first phase, which was the asset increase, already took effect, but the full elimination is coming on January 1st of 2024. An asset elimination flyer is being included in our JVR mailing that goes out to all of our Medi-Cal members. And this particular notice just basically explains to them about the elimination of assets and not having to turn that information in moving forward. Asset questions will actually be removed from the non-MAGI renewal forms and packets effective 11/2, and the SCR number is present on your screen. And then, of course, asset questions will also be removed from Benefits Cal with the November 2020 priority release. We know that there are several areas where DHCS still owes counties some policy clarifications, particularly around the period of ineligibility and the look back for long-term care, and also income producing assets. We are working on finalizing all of those ACWDLs and believe we are on track to publish them by the October 31st deadline, or at least some sort of temporary public policy. If we are unable to meet that deadline, we'll absolutely make sure that we provide an update to counties so that there's an awareness about when those policies will come out. Most importantly, very similar to the webinar we did with the adult expansion, we also will be doing a webinar for the asset elimination that really covers a lot of these more complex policy questions that counties have. We're going to be leveraging our biweekly county support call on November 14th. So if that's not a call that you have staff that work non-Magi cases usually attend, would highly encourage you all to register for that particular session. Back over to you, Lisa, to talk about it from the SAWS perspective.
Thanks, Teresa. So on the next slide is just a quick highlight of some of the automation changes that Teresa has already mentioned. And so the automation changes are focused in 4 key areas: rule updates where appropriate, notices of action, state forms. Teresa talked about the non-Magi packet. And then the 4th category is batch and interfaces. So we have some changes that have been coordinated with the CalHIS system, as well as there's some integration changes with Benefits Cal. So along the top here, we have some key dates with our adult expansion. We did already put some future dated rules in there that was coordinated with CalHIS. And as Teresa mentioned, as we get towards the 3rd week of November, that is when we're putting in some notice of action updates, as well as those very important batches. Rough counts are 300,000 to 400,000, and we need to start that process and send those Magi requests over to CalHIS. So that is a multi-day process, as we tend to receive responses over multiple days from those requests, and non-Magi will run on the 22nd. Along the bottom, we are actively working on all these changes for elimination of assets. Again, we've got the packet updates, and the goal is to get them in before we generate the January renewal packets. January renewal packets will be generated on or around the 10th of November. So we're targeted to get those changes in before that date. In our 2311 release, we have some rule and NOAA updates for the elimination of assets. And then we do have some translations coming for those state forms in early December. So a lot of activities in flight in addition to our unwinding, and these will be moving through the process. As we move forward, we're closely collaborating with CWGA, DHCS, and counties as we implement these changes and make sure counties are aware of what's coming. So if we go to the next slide, this is just a quick overview of other release highlights. We did earlier this month restart the TNB recertifications, transitional nutrition benefits. So they had been suspended for a 2-year period and have restarted. So we ran a process to generate and send those packets. They are due back in November for those who have a renewal, recertification in the November timeframe. We have our release on 11/20. That is in our system test environments. County validation is gearing up on that. We're about, from a system test perspective, about 50% executed on our test scripts for that release through today. And then into December and January, we do have a couple of our annual COLAs coming up. December, we do have, excuse me, Capicola, SSA, and then CalFresh SSI in January. As we've onboarded a number of new counties this year, we are planning, I believe, in the November timeframe, just to have an overview session of COLA processing. There are some slight differences and from how COLAs were processed in CalWIN, and we did receive a couple of requests to give an overview of the different processes, how they run, the documentation we produce with each major COLA, a memorandum that outlines, the scope of the changes, the cases that are, the criteria for the cases that are picked up, any lists that will be produced, and then kind of the processing timeframes. So that meeting will be forthcoming shortly for the November timeframe, and will be recorded for those counties that are unable to attend. And I believe with the next slide, I'm handing this over to Karen to talk about prioritization.
Thanks, Lisa. Following up on my action item was to work with CDSS on the college student dashboards and information, and there is no SAWS action needed on that particular item. It is a CDSS item, so they will take that one forward. And if they need anything from us, we'll provide information. Moving to the prioritization of older SCRs. I came a couple of months ago and talked about restarting of the prioritization process for enhancements in CalSAWS through the committee process. And there was a request to take a look at some of the older policy items that we have that have been sitting due to other priorities or migration, that sort of thing. And with migration ending, so we are taking a look at making sure that any of the older policy items that are out there are still relevant. We do have some that were put in as placeholders for anticipated ACLs, for instance, that were either vetoed or never came to fruition. So we are making sure that we have a list that is a clean list as we go through. That's a work currently in progress. We don't have that list at this time. And each policy area business analyst is looking to identify if there are some top policy items that have been hot topics for the counties or committees that have work around complexity that we should resolve, or that might reduce manual steps. And then always on our list is correspondence, making sure that that is done up to date. So we are looking to bring those forward to our internal release planning meeting and identify some targeted releases based on other team capacity. And the work groups and committees will continue to provide the feedback on those SCRs as they move through the design process. I
Hey,
expect
Karen?
that, yes.
Just a quick point of clarification. The system meets policy, but these older policy items could help streamline the manual process a county goes through and make it easier for them. So they're put on hold because the system can meet policy, but it might be a bit onerous on the counties, and we could further streamline those items. Is that
That
correct?
is accurate. That is accurate. Thank you for, and in some cases with correspondence, we just have a significant work effort going on correspondence where we're adding additional languages. We are bringing forms up to date if there's been newer versions. That's a continual effort because there's always changes to forms. But yes, the majority, and I think my bullet points kind of like address that without being as specific as you were, which I appreciate, is trying to make the system work, as easy as possible for those that are using it. And with that, I will turn it over. I don't know if we're stopping here or if that goes over to owner.
Actually, I think it closes out this agenda item for policy and the updates. And Albert, turning it back to you.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, can hear you.
Thank you, Cindy, for the assistance. I do apologize with my technical issues having here locally in San Diego. So are there any questions of the PSC?
Albert, I see Sandra's hands up.
Sandra?
Good morning. My question is, and I'm going back to last month's slide deck. We had discussed moving forward the October and the November REs. But now we hear that it's the December REs that actually batched, which is great. But is there anything that's going to be done for assistance with the October and November REs, or would we be getting a list that will help us with that process for the stable income waiver?
Yeah, so I believe, hi Sandra, it's Lisa. So I believe last month that we may have introduced some confusion because at the time those processes, renewal processes had already executed and the packets had already gone out. So the intent of our stable income changes, as Teresa mentioned, was to start it with December renewals. We're always running processes 2 months in advance of the renewal month so that we can go through the ex parte. So at this time, I know there have been conversations. At a minimum, there'll be a list. If there's anything we can do from an automation, we'll explore that. But the starting point is a list for those October and November renewals that we ran back in August and September.
Perfect.
And Lisa, I just wanted to chime in and say, from DHCS's perspective, the way we had to do the sort of the advancement for December and January were only approved because it was 2 months. But there isn't actually an EDBC run that happens with the sort of the workaround we did in order to do it very quickly. I do just want to kind of generally say that we know that we're going to begin getting some audits from a federal perspective, and that will include some of these beginning months. So we just want to be very careful that as DHCS is approving any of sort of these automated pieces, that we also don't put the state at risk of anything for a long period of time. And so from DHCS's perspective, unfortunately, we are going to need a policy place to keep it the way we approved it from an automation perspective, but definitely we'll work with SAWS to see if lists are possible. We think using these waivers will allow counties to move through some of the outstanding renewals and even some of the upcoming renewals very, very quickly in order to advance them forward. But just wanted to chime in from a policy perspective why you may not see that request advance.
And in that, the list would be helpful for us, so we appreciate any assistance, so thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions of the PSC? Any questions of the public?
Hi, this is Jennifer from the Advocates Group, and nice to see you all today. I wanted to just comment regarding the implementation of the, sorry, I'm like looking for the slide that had the information on it. The implementation from slide 19 on the Medi-Cal renewal using document upload, and that will pause the termination, and just say thank you for taking action on that. It was something that we've raised in a couple of forums in recent months, and appreciate the quick movement on creating that technology. I also do want to acknowledge that this is something that's pretty important to us, and we did not have the opportunity to weigh in on the design. Public-facing aspects of the website are things that I think it's intended that we have the opportunity to weigh in on, and I understand it was a quick timeline. However, we do have some questions about how the policy was interpreted, which we'll be in touch with DHCS about that, and some of the other choices about the design. So again, it would be a lot better if we could have those questions addressed before things are implemented. And I just want to reiterate again, our interest in partnering and being able to provide feedback in a timely way. I think we've been able to show up and provide quick feedback when there's a short timeline. So we request the opportunity to do that again in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Are there any other questions of the public? Hearing none and seeing none, John, I think we can go on to our next item.
Very good. Let's do the benefits Cal update, and I think it's Lynn and Owner that are going to take the lead on this.
It's call updates. Good morning, everyone. If we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So for the benefits call release highlights standpoint, what we see here is an outline of the key milestones, including the collaboration model meetings, the Calvin Mays, and the upcoming monthly releases through the end of this calendar year. And benefits call is a busy October and November releases coming up in terms of the enhancements. And we will have more granular view on these release details on the next 2 slides. But before that, on the Calvin side, we collectively celebrated our first month together for Alameda, Sonoma, and Fresno counties earlier this month, early October, following that our cutover had in September 5th. And as we look forward, Wave 6 is on the corner coming up later end of this month, and we are looking forward to have Wave 6 counties, Sacramento, San Francisco, San Luis Obispo join the family as well. On the collaboration model side, the quarterly meetings is held on September 22nd with the stakeholders since we met last time, and next quarterly meeting is scheduled on December 1st to prioritize the upcoming system improvements with the stakeholders. And on the monthly releases, since we met last time in September, release 2309 completed with a series of enhancements, including an enhancement where the benefits called chatbot, the digital assistant essentially, to help the customers is expanded with new intents and frequently asked questions, which could improve the overall customer experience and in the downstream would reduce the phone calls that counties may receive as well. For this month, release 2310, with the release 2310, a new tracker is on schedule today on October 19th to allow customers to see the renewals and the SAR7 status in the life cycle on the customer dashboard, starting from submission to the completion to provide more transparency to the customers and reduce the phone calls as well that counties may receive from the potentially confused customers historically, right? A new change is also is coming up to allow anonymous users to upload documents coming up next month as well. Next slide, please. So taking a more granular look to the release roadmap, we have seen this format previously probably, but just a quick refresher, the green color indicates the collaboration model prioritize enhancements. The light purple or violet color represents the UCD research items, and the orange ones are policy and the technical improvements. From the September release 2309, as I mentioned, we had a series of changes implemented in benefits call, including the benefits called chatbot, improvements with the new FAQs and the intents. And also, we would like to thank everyone, our all stakeholder groups, including the advocate partners, counties, RMs, and state partners for their inputs in that UCD research and the design inputs for that implementation. There's also a series of UCD research activities that were conducted for future improvements, including the documents type dropdown improvements coming up, as well as to improve the upload experience and application status tracker and primary applicant status. These activities happened in September. If you take a look at what is coming up in October and November, starting with October, in addition to the renewals and the SAR7 tracker, as I highlighted in the previous slide, there is also the customers will be able to see the renewals card displayed real time on their dashboard. And there is a technical improvement also coming up to route the applications to the correct offices for faster application turnaround time. This is through an improved retry mechanism. All of these changes are coming up today with the release 2310. And in November, as I mentioned, the collaboration model priority item is on schedule that to allow customers with anonymous users to upload documents. All these are the highlights, for in the benefits card release roadmap. If you can go to the next slide, please. So as we look forward, there is a series of items coming up in terms of policy, planning, and get coverage parity standpoint that we will be working on the near future, including items such as ABOT, CPAP expansion, apply for benefits for CAPI, and benefits replacements from the policy standpoint. Similarly, we do have some homeless assistant work, and the SSA assisted application implementation is coming up as well, coming up soon. Lynn, anything that you would like to add from a releases standpoint that I did not cover?
Thank you, Onar. No, we elected to start showing some of our upcoming events and are continuing to build out our roadmap so that everybody has a sense of the future work we have. We have a lot of work that's in play over these next couple of months, but there's a lot of effort that's coming up here very soon this coming spring and into this summer. Thank you.
Thank you. If you can move to the next slide, please. Yeah, I think for this slide, I will hand it over to you, Lynn, again.
Yeah, thank you. Just a quick update. Our release of information work group continues to meet. We've met already several times. We have a meeting coming up this coming Monday. Our last meeting, we did do a lot of focused conversations around different things that happen with the roles on an applicant or recipient and those that are helping our beneficiaries or the clients, and how all of that will translate into being able to submit the request for submitting the applications, and for those that are looking for assistance from outside agencies on what some of those limitations are and what we need to document that. So we also will be talking some of this about more in depth about this this coming Monday in relation to how does this tie into our security agreements? How does this all work? So the process questions will start coming up here probably within the next meeting or two. So I do anticipate some more future dates will be populated. We will be bringing some proposed dates to Monday's meeting, and then we'll keep everybody apprised of the scheduled meetings that are coming up. Thanks, Onar. That's what I had.
Thank
I'll
you,
let
Lynn.
you.
Thank you. So following the ROI topic, thank you, Lynn, for the ROI update. The next topic we would like to share is a quick highlights on the collaboration model. Which serves as an important stakeholder group to prioritize the public-facing changes. And you may know the group includes the members from our advocate partners, state partners, the customers, CWDA, regional representations, and the consortium. And meetings are held quarterly. In this calendar year 2023, 4 meetings conducted already, and the next meeting is scheduled on December 1st, 2023. And so far in this calendar year, there's 12 collaboration model prioritized enhancements implemented already. And on top of that, 8 user-centered design research activities completed for upcoming changes. And we also work together with the county, state partners, and advocate partners for 13 continuous coverage unwinding related enhancements this year. And this list excludes the other policy and the production priority updates, and also excludes the technical updates, the numbers that I shared here. 2 recent updates that you see, the visuals here are, since we met last time, recently in September, we completed a change delivered on benefits called Chatbot, the digital assistant that I was referring to help the customers. We expanded it with new intents and the FAQs, which would also improve the overall customer experience to get the answers, to provide their answers proactively to the customers and reduce the phone calls. So instead of making a phone call, they can get the answers that they need through this experience. And as we look forward today, through the release 2310 today, the visual you see here is a new tracker scheduled to be delivered with today's release to allow customers to see their renewals and the SAR-7 status in the processing lifecycle on the customer dashboard from submission through the completion, and to provide more transparency to the customers and reduce potential confusion on their end in their benefits journey. And we are also expecting this change would reduce the phone calls that counties may receive as well. So these are the collaboration model updates we wanted to share with you today. Lynn, anything that I missed on the collaboration model side that you want to add, or are we good?
No, appreciate that. On our next meeting, there will be some focus and some brainstorming, if you will. We do want to talk with our members, their collaboration model about how we might want to address some future changes, ways of looking at. We get a long list of changes that are being requested. So what happens if some of those are getting a little bit older or something like that? Is there something that we can look at? So we will have some strategy conversations starting in December as well.
Thank you so much, Lynn. If you can move on to the next slide, please. Perfect. Thank you. So when we met last time in September, we had mentioned that there is a number of areas that we have been tracking from customer experience standpoint, in alignment with what we have been hearing from our UCD channels, along with the feedback from the service desk tickets and what we have been hearing from the counties as well. Today, we want to briefly walk you through the top 3 of these areas: the document upload, case linking, and the account management, as it relates to where we stand right now and the game plan going forward. Starting with the document upload, in terms of where we stand with document upload in production, though we really understand that in some cases users may be experiencing difficulties, I just want to share that in production, June of this year through the September, we see over 8.6 million documents and images transferred to CALSA's imaging system with 99.9% success rate. Even though, of course, this over 99.9% success in terms of these transactions, in document upload, we noted 3 different observations. Let me explain to you each one of and what we have done so far for each. First area on the doc upload, we have been hearing that in some instances, users uploaded images were not located by the caseworkers, which was causing re-upload attempts on the customer end. And to address that, job aids and training guides were provided by the consults team to the caseworkers to guide them to locate the uploaded documents and process them in a faster and a timely manner. And another observation we have been capturing that the users were not getting the notifications sometimes clearly enough. They did not find it clear enough when the documents failed due to a file limitation, such as if it is password protected, if it is encrypted, or if there is a network error happens when the customer was attempting to upload a document. So to address that, we took this to our UCD process to talk to the customers and implemented a new user-friendly messages for the upload failures, also implemented enhancements to restrict encrypted and password protected files. So as a result of these help desk call, we observed that as an outcome, help desk call volumes for doc uploads reduced 50% since July of this year, 2023. Is a positive outcome. And we also saw that less than 1% of the doc uploads help desk tickets resulted in an actual system defect since August of this summer to August 2023. All positive stat. And on that side, and last item on the doc upload, we also observed that in some instances, the users selecting incorrect document types in the drop down because they are not sure which one to pick, which may also affect the processing in the downstream too. We took that observation to the UCD labs for analysis to get actual end user inputs on usability standpoint. And we are currently synthesizing this feedback from the customers, their suggestions in terms of potential modifications in those document type dropdown values. And we will be reflecting that input to improvements to our downstream design discussions, and of course, including our stakeholder group collectively to design it together to make this experience more intuitive for customers. And finally, we are also working on, as I mentioned, implementing the collaboration model priority item to allow anonymous users to upload documents as well, which is coming up next month too. So this is kind of an overall summary on the doc upload side. If we can move on to the next slide, please. In terms of where we stand with the account management, again, I will walk you through the cases where the end users may be experiencing difficulties. Starting with where we stand in the production. There is over 3 million accounts created as of right now in Benefiscal, and around we see over 1 million login attempts on a weekly basis in total. And we over 99% system success. But in terms of how many people are able to log in these attempts, we see that there is around like maybe 7% or so around customers are supplying invalid credentials when they are trying to get in. And system is, of course, actually doing what it's supposed to do, not allowing people supplying these invalid credentials to get in. But we see that too, like that behavior too, which is a kind of a valid response from the system standpoint, right, for authentication and authorization perspective. In terms of the experiences, we have noted two main observations here. Let me explain to you what these are and what we have done for those. Now, first item is, in some cases, we heard some challenges that users using the verification code, that OTP code, the one-time password, during the account creation and the password reset flow, especially when user as an optional the phone number field during the account setup. And users find that confusing a bit. And to address that, we took this to the UCD channels to get the customer input, how to improve that. And as a result, we added a tooltip to the email, phone, one-time password screens for both password reset and the account creation flow, and also change the look and feel of the screen to differentiate them significantly so the confusion is minimized, because customers were entering the wrong code to the wrong screen, essentially. But for the security, and also, this would make it more intuitive for customers, essentially. And for security questions piece, during the account setup, customers also requested allowing spaces when they are providing their responses. And we also implemented enhancements to allow spaces in the security responses during the account creation as well. So for these first two, We saw the help desk password reset phone call volumes dropped to 1.5% from around 3.5% in September. So we see a reduction after the changes implemented summer of this year. And one more piece that I would like to add here is on the account creation is on the OTP flow piece that I just highlighted. We also had conversations with the counties. And one of the suggestions we heard was implementing a progressive account creation. Essentially what that means is changing where the phone number information is collected and verified in the account creation flow to make the OTP experience more seamless for the end users. And we are currently exploring that as an opportunity to improve that as a future improvement, as a future enhancement as well, as the future progressive account creation that I'm referring to. Next slide, please. In terms of the case linking, June through September of this year, we see over 560,000 successful case link actions in production, and averaging around 140,000 successful case links on a monthly basis over the last 4 months. And I will also briefly walk you through the customer experiences as well on this area. In terms of the case links, the first area, in rare instances, we observed that the incorrect case links were being established by the customers due to the personal identifiers provided during that case link attempt. And the team did some data research and found out that one of the reasons was because the system was asking the last 4 digits of the SSN during the case link in the design. And to address that, we implemented an enhancement this June, this summer, to ask 9 digits, the full 9 digits of the SSN instead of the last 4, to prevent that misidentification causing that mislink. And we also heard that few customers are making phone calls to locate the specific case information after the successful case link. And benefits called YouTube videos were updated and refreshed this summer, as well as the FAQs and the job aids and the training guides provided for help desk and the county staff to assist customers in case if they reach out. And as a result of these actions, no system issues were identified on benefits call for subsequently reported case link calls. But going forward, though, we will continue to monitor and gather inputs from counties, customers, and our CBO communities as well on customer messages and utilize UCD channels to enhance usability across all 3 areas. So I will pause here and hand it back to you, Albert, for any questions for the benefits call section.
Thank you so much for the update. Are there any questions of the PSC?
See that Sandra has her hand up.
Hi, the only question I have, I think it was slide 27, and it's just more of clarification. When we're talking about to allow anonymous users to upload documents, what does that entail?
So right now, for a user to make a document upload attempt, Sandra, they have to log in, right? They need to have an account. They should create an account and go to their dashboard and make an upload attempt. And this will not mandate, this enhancement, we will not mandate to have an actual account to create. So if you're an anonymous user, you should be able to still upload a document. Of course, there is some pre-screening or pre-checks from the data standpoint to make sure that the document is related to the correct application or a case as part of the design. But this is essentially removing that mandate to have an account in order to upload a document.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, this allows, sorry, I'll just add just a little more. If somebody were applying and didn't have an account, they can upload the documents at the time that they're applying, but they can't follow up after. So this was a way to allow that mechanism so that somebody could come back later without an account and still be able to answer a series of questions and get the documents uploaded as well. So it's an approach for a couple of different ways.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the PSC? Do we have any questions or comments of the public?
Hi, this is Jennifer from the Advocates Group. First, I just want to say thank you for the time that went into helping to identify the things that were impacting these particular pain points for consumers. And I appreciate as well that there's measurements of the success of these solutions so that we can see how they're actually working. I had two questions. One of them was, what is the timeline between when the solutions were implemented versus the measure? For example, on this slide, it says no issues were identified for the reported case linking incidents. I'm just curious if like what the time frame was for that and if we might expect to see any changes in that in the future.
Sure, Jennifer. If maybe you may recall, initially when we brought up these areas of observation, it was around the April timeframe, right? So the changes that I highlighted here were around maybe June through August, or maybe May through August of this year. So we focused on what we have observed, what we have took action on, and what the outcome is throughout this time period. But essentially, this is basically the time window, that we focused on in terms of observation, action, and the impact standpoint. Yeah.
Okay, great. And then I see Marcella has a hand. I just had one more question. For the slide that talked about the document upload, it said the help desk call volumes reduced by 50%. So it sounds like there still are some calls coming in about uploads. Are there any other steps being taken to further reduce the impact there?
Sure. Yeah, I think the key thing is, Jennifer, is the document type dropdown that we have been working together, right, to refine that. Because, for example, if a customer is looking for a payroll in the dropdown, but they see proof of income, they are confused which one, etc. So we are trying to refine to make that experience more intuitive with using these UCD channels with the end users. That is definitely works in the works right now, and we will implement those changes as we finalize the design together with the stakeholders, including our advocate partners too.
Okay, great. And I'll be curious maybe in our future conversations to hear about like how necessary is the document type dropdown if it's creating these issues. Like, is there a consideration of just not having it there? So
yeah, definitely. We will work with county, state partners, and of course all the stakeholders, including you, Jennifer, to talk through all these options as part of the design. But definitely collecting the customer inputs right now when we take them to the lab, right, to get to see what the real obstacle is on their end.
Thanks, owner.
Of course, thank you.
There was a second question for the public.
Yeah, thank you. Just going back to slide 31 for uploads, I'm curious to know whether this is only connected to the upload feature where you do have a drop-down menu option, or if this is also including SAR-7s and renewals where you don't have the option of the drop-down, and there's just like an automatic list of documents that could be uploaded per household member. And I think that's one of the issues that we see a lot, because everything listed for per household member only says other. And the only thing that is listed as a document that the client would know to upload is income. So when we're talking about reporting, some household changes, or you're reporting maybe an additional person, or you're a college student and you are reporting your units and things like that, it doesn't actually give you the option to upload and choose to upload that documentation when you're submitting a SAR-7 or a renewal. So I was wondering if this sort of includes that, or if this is only the upload feature.
Yeah, when I say the document type refinements or the research we have been working with the customers includes all the scenarios that you are referring to. Where are the potential permutation combinations of the document types that users are willing to upload, right? Depending on the scenario that they are, like renewal space, SAR-7s versus supporting documents after the initial application. All of these are being considered in terms of the potential documents options when we are looking through and analyzing and getting the customer inputs, Marcella. Definitely they are being considered.
Okay, so just kind of I think I've mentioned it before, but if you can look at the SAR 7s and the renewals, the client doesn't necessarily have the option of uploading something. It's all just there. And it all is listed as other. So just kind of going back to maybe workers are seeing that clients are attaching incorrectly, but they really have no option to attach to anything else.
Yeah,
So just kind of like, you know, in case that can be sort of a solution for that particular issue. And then outside of that, you know, would it be your recommendation that instead of having clients upload documents when they're submitting the report, if they would go back onto uploads, so submit a report and then go back onto uploads and then upload their verification and actually list what they're trying to attach so that workers can see it listed exactly where it should be versus submitting with the SAR 7 and renewal, which won't give the client that option.
yeah, thanks, Marcela, for the input. I appreciate it.
Thank you for, this is Albert, and thank you for that. And we will also be taking a look at that. So thank you for your feedback and comment. Are there any other questions or comments of the public? Seeing none and hearing none, thank you. And John, I think we can go on to our next item.
Very good. And I think Pete's going to join us from our technical team about a new child support statewide user type in CalSAWS and how we're moving forward. Hey, Pete.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, John. Yeah, so I'm going to give a quick overview of this new role that we're going to be implementing into CalSTAWS. We received a request from the Department of Child Support Services wanting additional access to have a more uniform role for all child support staff users. So for this role, we created a SCR. It's a CA 264033. This new role has also been presented and reviewed by our security committee. This new role will be assigned to the child support staff users across the state, statewide, so and also to local county users, local child support county users. The new role will be maintained by the project, so it will not be able to be modified by counties. We will be sending a CIT out to the counties with planned training dates. Those training sessions will include how to transition the existing users and also how to create new users. And there'll be 2 training sessions held. Those will be planned for early December. We're probably looking about the 1st and 2nd week of December as the tentative dates at this point. In addition to that, the counties will continue to create their local child support users, and the project will continue to support statewide users. And this new role is targeted for release by the end of 2023. My presentation was quite short compared to some of the other ones this morning.
Thanks, Pete. I appreciate that. And this came about because Department of Child Support Services came to us and said, you know, as a result of some of their increased abilities in child support, that they need some more, I think, uniform access to CalSAWS. And there was some inconsistencies at the local child support level and what was being assigned county by county. So as that got looked at is what is at least a uniform access that they can have to be able to conduct their business in accordance with the law, what they have through security and legally need access for to be able to complete the work that they have for child support services. So we've had council look at this as well as Department of Child Support Services. Our state partners have looked at this and we've sort of walked through that. So we think this is a great enhancement. Appreciate Pete and his team working on this. The CIT will come out and I think they'll be a little bit more uniform for the counties as this role gets put in place. So with that, Albert, I think we can turn it back to you to see if there's any questions on this.
Thank you. I do have a question, or better yet, just I want to confirm that this new profile is basically a minimum access based on what the consortia in the state working with child support have determined that they need. However, if a county has their own MOUs or data sharing agreements with our local child support offices, the county can then add to anything that is not included in this minimum profile. Is that correct?
You can set up your own county profile, and it's a county maintained profile that can go above and beyond this, that you and your security team set up, you maintain that profile and that role going forward. So it isn't adding to this profile. This profile will be maintained by the project, but you can set up your own profile that you guys provide access to according to your MOU that goes above and beyond the access that is in this profile.
So then the counties can either choose to use this county, consortium managed profile, or we can not use that one, but use our own local one, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
So, John, sorry, this is Laura Chavez. I just wanted to highlight that the word statewide. So on the slide here that Pete was describing, one of the other highlights here is that with their additional scope with child support, they are requesting statewide access. So that means that this profile that Pete is and team are setting up to be used by all 58 counties in provisioning to your local child support officers is going to provide access to all 58 county caseload. So when we talk about, you choosing to use that or not, you would not be able in San Diego County to provision your own security profile that spans all 58 counties. So that's the nuance here. Also, with the child support request, as we know, they've got legal jurisdiction to be able to search for non-custodial parents across all the counties, not just in a single county. And also, as they're looking at non-custodial arrears and what might be accumulated across multiple counties, as they're looking at collections and those types of things, that's an important aspect of their request. So I just didn't want there to be any misunderstanding about that piece, Albert. Any questions?
No, understood. I think, I guess my question might not be formatted correctly. I guess all I'm trying to say is that the counties will have an avenue to add or grant access to something that because of our own personal contract or agreements with our local child support, that we will be able to give that access, and we're not limited to this profile.
Correct. And just to highlight that those additional or additional security rights would be only applicable to your county.
Understood.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. So sorry for the confusion on my part, but again, are there any other questions from the PSC?
Hop in, Cindy.
Hi, Albert. This is Cindy. Just, I think Laura just answered it. Thank you. I just wanted to kind of confirm the same thing as well, that we already do have an MOU with our child support agency. So just wanted to make sure that nothing would change on our end based on these new statewide view accesses. But I think you answered that question. We would have it for our own county. However, we've determined that, and everybody else could do the same, but we wouldn't have access into others. So yeah, I think if that's correct, I think I got that.
Yeah, and this is Laura. Just one other highlight. Department of Child Support Services is going to be, we requested that they work with CDSS on an ACL just to accompany our CIT from a policy perspective, just so that you've also got that in writing, if that's helpful for you all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions of the PSC? Any questions of the public? Seeing none and hearing none, I think we can go on to our next item, item number 10.
All right, I did not see, we're on our agenda, it says we're at return mail, but it looks like we're going right into contact center, which is item 11. So did that get mixed up in the slides? Return mail is page 13.
It's out of order, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we are going to go to contact center and then go to return mail?
I mean, it was just one slide.
Gotcha, okay, return mail, Dawn, you're up.
Sorry.
We'll stop my confusion.
No problem. We did talk about return mail in August, I believe, after San Diego had been doing the pilot for about 20 days. We did want to come back and give you an update on where we are today and the new enhancements that we've added to it, as well as a result of all of the conversations we've been having with various counties. And also answer the question that I seem to be getting regularly, which is, has my county contacted you? So normally we wouldn't put out a list of counties, but in this case, for that purpose of answering that question, we'll also say who has contacted us. But let's start with San Diego and where they are. They've been piloting since July 5th, and they are now up to 69 days of central print mailings for this chart. Over 1 million envelopes were mailed. You can see the numbers there on what was returned as undeliverable from the Postal Service and the number of envelopes that have a problem. They were delivered, but have a potential problem that could be problematic in the future. And again, pie chart reads similarly if you were in the prior conversation. The deliverable ones, no concerns came back from the Postal Service. They simply delivered it. That was 89%, 89.6%. And then you can see in the corner, the return mail running just under 5%, 4.6, and the address concerns coming back running close to 6% at 5.74. San Diego did also start using the task option on August 30th. So they have now been piloting for everyone the task option, and we've been working through with them making sure the wording was successful. It is customizable, but we wanted to be sure that you do have a starter as to what San Diego is using and that it seems to be functioning properly. If we could go to the next slide, that was really the update on San Diego and their pilot. And we do also know that San Diego, Albert, you are waiting patiently for us to become your return mail processing center. And we will be starting that in December once all those envelopes arrive. From a solution option in terms of the actual return mail itself, as you may remember, even though we know the next day that something's going to be undeliverable or has an address concern, we do still mail it. Everything gets mailed in order to make sure that we are compliant with any and all policies. We do then provide, as we talked about last time, you have an option to do either a report or a task. With either of those options, we are adding in the fact that we can and will auto journal the case for you. So we have gone through and taken a look at the guidelines for the journal entry for the former Calhoun counties, that would be a case comment. We have gone through and taken a look at the guidelines as to what should be journaled, and we will auto journal into the case what the results were, the official notification from the U.S. Postal Service, along with any information that they provided on the envelope, the yellow sticker, as we talked about last time. So that's a new feature that we will be adding to it to reduce the amount of work that the workers have to do by automatically putting that journal entry in with all that information, along with the task if you want it, or the report. And then again, the physical mail piece can either be returned to the county, or we will be, as I just mentioned, starting that option with San Diego, piloting it to be their return mail processing center. If we go to the next slide, it's very similar. This is those address concerns. So the envelope was delivered, or should have been delivered, to the individual according to the U.S. Postal Service. However, here too, there is an option for a report if you would like to know those and get in front of them for future mailings. You can also have a task, and now you can also have a journal entry. So those options are now all available as a part of the service. And thanks to all the counties who started to have these conversations with us, because these were all, the journal entry was one that was requested numerous times. Can you journal it for us? And we were happy to see that we could. So on the next slide, I do want to let folks know who has contacted us. I get a ton of questions as to whether my county has contacted us on this. So this is solely for that purpose of letting you know whether your county has contacted us or not. San Diego, obviously, you're live, and we are working through that last couple steps for you. Journaling will go live in San Diego in November, and the return mail service processing center in December. And then you can see the other two lists here. If you're on the purple list, then your folks have actually requested to meet with us. And if it's on the orangish list, you've asked for an estimate, county purchase document, but you have not necessarily set up a meeting with us. So just to let you know and answer that question as to who has contacted us. And with that, I believe it ends this part, and it would go back to Albert for questions.
Hey, Dawn, just before it goes back to Albert, I think there was one thing that we were looking at from the action items, says research whether return mail can be sent to the counties via imaging instead of sent and forwarded physically, and provide an update on that.
Yeah, we are still looking at that option. It may potentially be available, but it will not be available in the near short term. So in the near short term, if you do not, right now it's a physical envelope, but we are researching options there.
How long should we push this?
I think we probably need a couple more months to see what that would take.
Okay, so we'll put it out to the first of the year, January or February.
That would be great.
Okay. Thank you.
February since January's.
Yep. All right, Albert, back to you.
Thank you, John. And at the moment, I'll just speak as San Diego County and just provide our perspective. The team, again, working very diligent with Gainwell and the project team to ensure that we are getting the services that we want and that we had prior to our joining CalSAWS. And the last piece was this mail destruction and thank you so much for working with us and assisting us and getting a solution for that. And if I can just provide my perspective on the image mail, for us here in San Diego, we're not LA, I will start that out, but we are a large county that receives a lot of mail. The amount of mail that was received physically after the mail that was destroyed, because we are able to identify what is truly return mail that comes with a task, and then we can take action, versus the mail that comes to us because most likely the mail that's going to be returned to your counties are the pieces of mail that you sent out. Meaning these are the things that you put in your proper mail room that you did not send out to the vendor. So the volume is very small, and the expense, in my opinion, to do something about getting images to return, I just don't see the volume, the bang for the buck. But that's just an opinion. Again, moving forward, thank you for assisting us with the destruction of the mail. And so far, no complaints from our team. And we are also happy to connect with any of the counties that just want to hear our perspective. Having said that, are there any questions of the PSC? Are there any questions of the public? John, I think we can go on to our next item.
Very good. Let's go to the contact center update.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Danielle Benoit, and we're just going to give a quick update here on the ECCP migration for the CalSAWS counties, for the formerly C4 counties that are in CalSAWS. So as you can see here, we're making great progress on this effort. We have in our phase 3, 1 county left that is going tomorrow. We have been learning from every wave and continue to meet directly with the counties to talk through any issues or any concerns, training, and providing those resources. So we're excited to move forward and move on to our phase 4 counties. As you see here, there's a 12/15 date. So that is the date that the environment is ready. As you see from previous waves, those dates change. So once that's ready for the counties, we work directly with the counties prior to that to determine the best date for them to go live on the ECCP. So you'll see in future updates for those phase 4 counties that they may be dates post 12/15 or into January based on what is right for the county to go live with this. And that's the contact center update.
Thank you. Any questions of the PSC? Any questions of the public? John, next item.
All right, Tom.
We'll start with the M&O procurement update. We're in the midst of analyzing the responses to the vendor community to BAF01, both on infrastructure and M&E. That's moving along well. We are trying to get apples to apples across the board, and we are on target for our intent to award as well as our contract start date. And all of the review and approvals from our federal and state partners are fully accounted for in the schedule. Let's move on to Benefits Cal. The Benefits Cal re-procurement, we finished our requirements honing and completion and are working on the body of the RFP, which will then be submitted for state and federal review and approval of the RFP before its release in May of 2024. And that's all moving along well. And back to you, Albert.
Thank you. Any questions of PSC? Any questions of the public?
This is Jennifer from the Advocates Group. Thanks for the update, Tom. Will the Advocates Group have a chance to review the body of the RFP before it's final, or just the requirements list?
We had planned on just the requirements list, but we can see if we can put in the schedule a couple of days for you to review the whole package.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions of the public? John, next item.
Right, that brings us to our January 2024 CalSAWS conference. And I like to say a celebration as well, that we're going to have an in-person conference down in San Diego to really be forward-looking about what is the future of CalSAWS, Benefits Cal, or related systems. And now that we've achieved this goal together of having all counties on a single eligibility system, having the public on a brand new public-facing portal, and all of our call center technology, imaging technology, what are we going to do now? What needs to change? How do we need to innovate as we go forward and looking at that? So we have a theme for the conference, Cultivating CalSAWS Community. And there definitely is communities within CalSAWS, and how do we cultivate those communities as we move forward? As you can see, January 25th and 26th is a day-and-a-half conference. Part of that day-and-a-half conference on Friday will be a JPA membership meeting and public meeting. We do have 300 spots that are available for the conference that are available first come, first serve. We are over 100 folks registered. It is a no-cost conference as we go forward, but our room capacity is at 300, and there is no virtual attendance to the meeting. And of course, for our JPA membership meeting, we will have room for public attendance at the meeting. As we start off our conference, we're definitely going to be having some keynote speakers that are coming in. Our director from San Diego County, Rick Wani, will be really welcoming us to San Diego and talking about, the transformation and the achievements of coming into CalSAWS and working through that. Michelle Bass, the DHCS director, is also going to be talking to us about the achievements of CalSAWS, her perspective on that, and just the important time, especially with the continuous coverage unwinding and the partnership as we go forward. Eileen, the CWDA Acting Executive Director, is going to be talking about from a county perspective, how we're all working together and what a great achievement this has been with partnership and the counties really taking the lead to make it a reality as we've gone forward. I'll be doing a couple of level setting some items, as well as Michael Sylvester as our CalSAWS board chair, just to sort of set the tone of the meeting. We're going to have some plenary sessions talking about the future of Benefits Cal. We know that getting that in, getting everybody on that has been transformational technology. How is it changing business? What are we seeing from a statistical standpoint? Where do we want to go? How are counties changing their business process to look at how many of their applications are now coming in through electronic means, and sort of a smaller percentage of their applications coming in through paper and things like that? How is it impacting business? So hopefully we can encourage some counties to be doing some best practices, and we can talk about the future of Benefits Cal, because it is the future for as people begin to self-serve. One of the things that we're looking at for our vendors to be able to do for us, we know that we hear a lot about it. It is going to be part of our CalSAWS Benefits Cal future. We're already almost dipping our toe in it a little bit. But what is the future of AI? And how should we as a customer or a consumer of AI, or even a provider of AI, be thinking about that? And where should we be going as we all get on to CalSAWS? Where should we be going safely? And also, where should we go for a transformative process? So the vendors are going to give us a little bit of information on that, just so we can start thinking about that. We definitely want to hear from our counties, and we're going to be looking for our counties to be on many of our panels about sharing success, best practices as we go forward. And we're going to be hearing from our JPA board vice chair, Marla Stewart, about bridging the gap with automation. As we look at statistically, as we serve the counties and the counties serve the public, how many of the things, it's overwhelming when we look at the size of caseloads. We look at what the counties have to deal with on a daily basis, from a traffic flow into call centers, into lobbies and everything else like that. So how do we look at the future of bridging that gap with automation? And we're going to have a number of breakout sessions on some topics from call center technology to our DEI initiative, and how we've seen that sort of help us at CalSAWS really care for our employees as we've gone through a very, very stressful implementation, and how that's been an important part of the culture of CalSAWS as we've been going forward. So please, if you haven't registered, please do register. Plan to join us down at the West End in San Diego as we go forward. You'll see also on this is what we call our LEAP initiative. You guys had a presentation on the LEAP initiative at our last PSC meeting. But really, we think that over the next several months, we need this time to listen to our counties. What are you guys feeling? How are you guys experiencing CalSAWS? What do we need to do as we go forward and work on that? We know Ashley Arnold is our full-time into the future training manager and DEI manager here at CalSAWS. And how does training need to uniform training and some of the materials and curricula and stuff like that? What does that look like from the project as we support your local training efforts? Because you're still going to be training your employees, but how do we support them? As you can see, it's going to be a good, I think, agenda, a good time for us to get together. We do have a conference dinner on that Thursday night, and that's included with the free registration. And we're hoping that everybody can make it to that, because we want to use that dinner as a celebration getting to where we're at. I'll look back from the county's perspective and the SAW's perspective of it's been a long history. It's been a long, successful history. There's been people that have dedicated their careers to getting us to this point. So some pictures and some celebration and having a good time with all of us as we get together. So just wanted to give you an update on that. We're probably going to be sending out some surveys probably to some of our county directors and things like that. We want to make sure that our membership is there, but we want to make sure that at least that as the teams are putting together the materials for it, that this is something that somebody says, you know what, it's tough taking a day and a half or 2 full days with travel out of the office. What would make it worth our memberships while to be able to unplug from the office and to be able to go down on that day. So the teams are already working on stuff, but we're probably going to be surveying our membership just to say any hints, what do you want, things like that as we go forward. Okay. So Albert, that's an overview of the conference, where we're at on that. Again, please register if you haven't registered. And this is open for comments.
Thank you, John. Any questions of PSC? Questions of the public? Next item.
Fantastic. I think I'll turn it over to Dan.
Yes, sir. So I have a 1-page summary on key QA activities since our PSC group last met. I'm going to summarize it across functional, technical, and implementation areas. And a lot of this will sound familiar. The QA team is salt and peppered throughout the project. So a lot of the details of these activities have been described earlier in the meeting. Starting at the top, the quality assurance team participates in an independent test separate from the system test that each of our delivery partners provide, whether that's Accenture or Gainwell or Deloitte or Ernst & Young. They have full system tests on what they're delivering. QA does an independent test. And then there's also a county validation that follows that as well. So 2309 for both CalSAWS as well as the priority releases for Benefits Cal. The statistics are out there. Those are closed out. We're in the midst of testing 23.11. We're at week 3 of that, and it is progressing according to plan. The final words I have up there into the functional area highlight that we're also working on some of the big design activities, which are in various planning phases now. By being involved at the front end, that helps us get feedback from stakeholders, including consortium and delivery partners, about what the most important things are. So we include those in our test strategies and plans as those things are delivered down the line. In the technical area, we perform monthly SLA service level reviews across CalSAWS, imaging, OCAT, and Benefits Cal. The count of those things is in there that are reviewed each month. We did complete the annual M&O plan updates this past month, so that is completed. Root cause analysis points to issues that arise in production. Arnold highlighted 2 of those in topic 5 that were from September. The other 3 are either single county incidents. Sometimes we still do RCAs on that, as well as on item from August related to a network issue where we're still working through some additional recommendations on how we can prevent that item in the future and understand its core cause. And then finally, under technical updates, our team is participating in things like call center activities that Danielle highlighted, as well as imaging confirmation of resolution, like the multi-page images from Fresno. At the bottom there under migration reviews, we're in the final wave of that, as everybody knows. Each of the waves has had our team out in the counties participating in facilitating retrospectives. So wave 6 is going to benefit from 5 different waves best practice sharing. That's led to updated fact sheets and processes for support. We've had staff out in the county. We'll continue to do that. Green light is next week for wave 6. And about 90% of those 934 migration requirements are signed off. That means they've been delivered into production and confirmed. The balance, the 10% that remains, are associated with final acceptance, so they'll stay out there until we've completed those activities. And the final summary there is related to functional updates as they're delivered with each release. With that, it's back to Albert for any questions you might have with the QA team.
Thank you.
Albert?
Yeah, thank you. Any questions of the PSC? Questions of the public? Thank you. Next item.
All right, Apurva.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. This is Apurva. I will be providing you with the key IVNB updates on the following 4 work streams. Starting from the CalSOS and benefits Cal releases, in the month of September, we observed stable releases, 2309, as well as the monthly release for benefits Cal. As of now, the testing progress is going really well for the upcoming 2311 release and the October monthly release for benefits Cal. We observed great progress in the user-centric design meetings and ROI workgroup meetings, where we observed productive conversations and collaboration between the project stakeholders and state partners. The ROI workgroup is making great progress as they determine specific policy and security measures pertaining to ROI process. On the performance front, the imaging system continues to scale up, and the imaging team is making steady progress with defects and enhancements. The batch team is also continuing to make enhancements to make the batch processing efficient. Some of the key areas of improvement include the ETPC match and California child support automation system. Moving on to conversion, September was a very successful month in terms of 2 successful conversions, 5P as well as the 5C6A. For the 6P conversion cutover, which is upcoming in the next week, the preparations are going really well. The performance test for wave 6P conversion completed in September, the results are looking consistent. The worker assignment issue, which happened in 5P, did not reappear in this run, and the results from the performance run, the mock tests, and the fit tests were compared, and everything looked great. The IVNB team independently validated the release assignments of all the defects related to conversion, and everything that might impact conversion was properly assigned, and some of those defects have already been deployed. We also participated in the over-the-shoulder testing conducted by the QA team for the issue related to worker assignment. Lastly, on the implementation front, we observed the wave 5 post-implementation phase to be really smooth in the last month. With every wave, the post-implementation phase and the implementation readiness is just getting better and better. And it's clearly visible in the wave 6 preparations as well. And I echo with Catherine, the WBT completion rates and the ILT completion rates have been really phenomenal for wave 6. Kudos to wave 6 counties for reaching and exceeding 90% mark on the WBT completions. Our team performed an independent assessment of the wave 6 readiness, and from that, we are confident that the project and the counties are really making a very constant effort to be as ready as they can be for this upcoming implementation. That's it from my IVNB. Back to you, Albert.
Thank you. Any questions of PSC? Questions of the public? Thank you. Next item.
All right, Albert, that brings us to our state partner updates. And if we want to go right down the road, we can start with OTSI, see if there's any updates.
Good morning, this is Steve Zaretsky. Really briefly, OTSI submitted the CalSOS ClearBest change order number 8 to both FNS and CMS at the beginning of October for their review and approval, and we also provided them a walkthrough of that just yesterday. So thank you to Holly and her team for assisting with that. We just received the CalWIN as needed APD, and that's currently under state review. And then along with our IB&V team, we continue to monitor the Wave 5 post-go live activities, and we are eagerly anticipating Wave 6 into next week. Thank you, that's it.
Thanks, Steve. I think that brings us on to CDSS. Any updates from CDSS? Hearing none. DHCS, I know Teresa provided a really great update on the continuous coverage unwinding. Is there anybody on from DHCS that wants to add to that update that Teresa provided?
Hi, this is Katie. There is no way I can update or add to what Teresa provided. So no additional comments from DHCS. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Albert, back to you.
Any questions of PSC? Questions of the public? Okay, next item.
All right, I'm going to kick it back to you for regional updates so you can choose the order, Albert.
Here we go. Region 3.
Hey, this is Rachel from Region 3. So this month for our counties, we have Butte County who's reporting that they're actually making some slight progress with their employment and eligibility staff recruitments. They have also reporting an increased volume of CalFresh applications. Del Norte County, unfortunately, reporting that they have a 35% vacancy rate in their eligibility classifications. However, they did report that they had met with DHCS regarding their Medi-Cal unwinding process, and they actually received some great kudos for the volume of Medi-Cal recertifications that they were able to process for the month of July. So congratulations to them. They also are indicating that their caseloads, like most of our counties, their caseloads are increasing. Humboldt County had a new class of eligibility specialists start on October 16th. And reporting also that one of their program managers over their public authority, fair hearings, and quality assurance has retired last month. Lake County, as highlighted earlier, is working on getting their purchase agreement completed to opt in to utilize the central print return mail option. And they are also hiring for eligibility specialist trainee at all levels. Latson County is recruiting for their integrated case workers. I'm very hopeful that they will be able to hire some staff into those positions. For Mendocino County, we do currently have an eligibility specialist induction class that started at the end of September. And we're currently recruiting for screening staff and for employment and training workers as well. Tehama County is reporting that their vacancy rate for eligibility staff is actually at 43% currently. They are working with a consulting firm to assist with their business processes, and they will be recruiting for additional eligibility staff soon. And so those are the reports that we have out for our counties here in Region 3. Thank you.
Albert?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm still here. Region 2.
Good morning, Region 2. So starting off, we have Eldorado County, who is transitioning to their continuing units to task-based and in the process of building their kiosk. Mono County, their Board of Supervisors has approved a reorganization that combines their public health and their social services. They are working on their CCU and hiring ICWs and supervising caseworkers. For Placer County, they started using GenNext for Medi-Cal workers, and it is going well. Sacramento County, working towards migration, currently in ILTs, and great kudos to all the staff and the training staff because we are getting just tremendous positive feedback on all the training. It has been one of the best training feedback we've received in a very long time. So thank you all very much for that. Because as you all know, we are within 11 days of our go live and joining our partners in San Francisco and San Luis Obispo to finish off the 58. So definitely very excited about that. So really looking forward to it, and we're all almost there. So thank you all for the support. Sutter County has hired 13 new trainees, and Yuba County is currently working on rolling out their recorded rights and responsibilities for CalFresh, and that's the end of my updates. Thank you.
Thank you. Region 1.
I'm gonna start us off. Good morning, everybody. Anna will finish off. Santa Cruz County currently has training class of 24 eligibility workers. They are also conducting ongoing weekly communication to staff regarding CalSauce and other materials. They're actively engaged in lobby device planning, and they're looking forward to the small group discovery sessions related to reporting concerns. For San Mateo, we received our CalSauce kiosks and we participated in the kiosk and tablet trainings that happened in our regional offices. We currently have a class of 19 new workers in the new worker training unit. 16 of those are actually new workers. The 3 are coming back from a long-medical leave, and they were not around during the CalSauce training, so we're retraining them back into program as well as CalSauce. We are also experiencing challenges with our state and fiscal reports. We've asked for extensions on some of those reports. It is impacting our claiming and state report deliveries, but we are very grateful to the support from our regional managers as well as our partners as we continue to work through those issues and get those things resolved. Anna?
Thanks, Clarissa. So I'll go ahead and cover Monterey. So for Monterey, they have an ongoing CalFresh and Medi-Cal induction class of 18 specialists that has an expected end date of 12/15/2023. The Benefits Cal Technical Support Desk went live for them last September 25, and one of their supervising departmental information systems coordinators returned to the unit after 6 months on loan assignment working on the Pajaro disaster. They also have 2 new departmental information systems coordinators or help desk staff that have been hired and will join their team or join the team next week, 10/23. Then for San Francisco, similar to San Luis Obispo and Sacramento, we're currently in the height of our migration readiness. And I just want to say really kudos to our regional manager, kudos to the entire consortium, and also for my team here in San Francisco. Everybody's really all hands on deck from our IT facilities, fiscal communications, and the entire benefits program. We're all really working on getting prepared, from training, organizational readiness, and the implementation. So I believe we're just wrapping up all our in-person training this week. We receive our kiosks and they're getting ready for installation. So we are expected to actually have a few kiosks in one of our main offices while the others are being teed up for installation for future date. We also have our tablets, lobby monitors, so everything has been tested. And so it sounds like we are ready for go live. We are also working on the go live packets, and all of the programs are pretty much diving into that and making sure the staff are clear in terms of the escalation process on go live day 1, and as well as resources and who to contact and who's available to support them, both on-site staff and also the ones that are working still remotely. And that's it, Albert, back to you.
Thank you, Anna. Region 6.
Hi, this is Olga. Good morning, everybody. For us, we just have some small updates. We just did exam for an HSA 3. So we will be adding a 4th one to our team here at LA County. On November 1st, we will be doing our 2nd EW Academy. We have 32 seats available, so we intend to fill them up with new EWs as well as some of our existing ones. It's a week-long in-person academy, and we cover policy and some day-to-day operations that some of our newer staff need to be updated on. And I think that's pretty much it. We recently this week had an executive leadership development coach come out and train our eligibility supervisors and our HSA ones on a personality diversity workplace training. And it was very popular. So we hope to bring it back and provide more coaching and mentoring to our staff. That's it. Thank you.
Hi, this is Gwenna for DPSS, and would like to announce that we have 2 new official appointments for Chief Deputy with Kristen Stranger and Michael Sylvester within the department. We are also recruiting for Division Chief within DPSS, and we continue to hire for our eligibility functions, eligibility and clerical functions. And that is it. And I guess I should announce it now. This will be my last meeting with you all. So I just want to thank you all for your partnership, for your collaboration, and for your support these past, 6 years, or it's been a while. So thank you all.
I want to thank you for your leadership, for always being here for PSC and for your county. You have just been an awesome leader, and we just have appreciated your participation, and we're going to miss you.
Thank you, John.
Well, that was news. Well, congratulations. So I hope congratulations on your next chapter. Region 4.
Hi, this is Cindy from Region 4. Good morning, everyone. And I'll do the Region 4 updates. And so first off, Fresno County. Fresno's internal escalation plan was successful during her go live month of September. The 9 operational centers received approximately 795 issue reports. Of those, 700 were resolved internally. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I thought maybe somebody was saying something. Utilizing their CNCs, out-of-county support, and using resource material available on the CalSAWS portal that averaged out to approximately 89% of internal resolution. So congratulations to Fresno Go Live. In Kern, we are outlining a process here to plan with our SIU partners in combating some of the EBT theft processes. We've also expanded the capability of our Medi-Cal partner, made it more streamlined for them to assist us with submitting Medi-Cal renewals. We are preparing for our upcoming Emmy. 3 of our offices will be identified to participate, and we're busy ensuring those offices are prepared. We've incorporated the new Benefits Cal promotional materials, and we used it in a video stream that we had going at one of our booths at the Kern County Fair. So that was kind of fun. We are also reviewing our kiosk and reception processes using the CalSAWS tools with the plan to reopen our lobby processes to be more productive. We are also building a kiosk room to put all of our kiosks so that the public can just come in and upload their documents. And we're also adding some new service windows. So we're hoping to improve our customer service in our front-facing lobby. We've also hired some new eligibility extra help staff to assist with some task processing. So we're being strategic in the tasks and duties that we're giving to them. And so far, it's been really successful in helping us work a lot of those cases. And we're also updating our supervisor training module so that we're providing specific training just to our supervisors. In Madera County, they have a new deputy director, Vivian Garcia. They also have a new fiscal manager, Yang He. In Mariposa County, Mariposa recently hired 6 new eligibility specialists and began induction training. They also had an ES3 retire, and I'm working on publishing the recruitment to fill that position. And they anticipate 2 ES1-2 vacancies at the end of September. They also recently celebrated their annual homecoming and county fair. And the HHSA department had a presence there. In San Joaquin County, they're currently preparing for their 2024 ME review scheduled for the first week of December. They continue to work through the Medi-Cal unwinding process, and they have their touch point meeting with DHCS in October and have a new class of 36 EWs currently being hired to start in November. And last, San Luis Obispo County continues to complete their migration activities and is on track for Wave 6 go live on October 30th. So go San Luis Obispo. That's it for Region 4. Thank you.
Thank you. And Region 5.
Hi, good morning. This is Maria Gardner, and I have a few updates from a few counties in Region 5. Riverside's Project Steering Committee member and CalSAW's regional manager are going out to visit district offices as part of their CalSAW's Roadshow. The objectives are to update staff on exciting future enhancements and provide a forum for CalSAW's users to ask questions and share their experience in using CalSAW's. Santa Barbara has a new eligibility worker class starting on October 30th with 41 new hires. And this week, Santa Barbara is undergoing their first CalFresh management evaluation since joining CalSAW's. In Ventura, they held a hiring event last month, which yielded 70 new CBS workers, that's eligibility workers, of which 57 are beginning induction training at the end of October. This triggered staff movement and a need for CalFresh training for Medi-Cal only staff so they can leverage them at intake and other ongoing areas. Their community services department is hiring additional managers and analysts to support key areas, including policy and training teams. The executive team continues to conduct in-person on-site visits and virtual town halls to hear directly from staff. And the executive team will be conducting focus sessions to support the agency-wide cultural change. And finally, October marks the 150th anniversary for Ventura County. So several countywide events are taking place in the coming weeks to celebrate their history as a county. That's all from Region 5.
Thank you. Any questions of the PSC? Any questions of the public? Seeing none, hearing none, I think we can go on to our next item, which will be the adjournment of this meeting. Meeting adjourned.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.